Well, let's find out more from Aidan Harper, founding member of the 4-Day Week campaign and researcher for the New Economics Foundation. Aidan, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on.
Now, tell me why a 4-day week is a good idea.
So I think if we look at the problems that we have in this country, we know that we have some of the highest levels of working time in Europe. We also know that we have a crisis in overwork. So if we look at the statistics from last year, we know that 1 in 4 of all 6 days lost was a direct result of overwork. Now, if we look and compare ourselves to other countries, you've already mentioned the Netherlands there, but the likes of Netherlands, Germany, all of Scandinavia work far fewer hours than us, and yet they're more productive and have higher levels of GDP per person. These are things that we need to look at those countries and we need to learn from them, and we can see clearly that the fewer hours a country works, the better its economic performance is.
Well, which sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? When you hear it like that, it does sound as if it shouldn't be that way round.
Exactly. And if we look the other way around, we look in Europe, the country that works the most hours by a distance is Greece. And Greece has the lowest levels of GDP per capita in all of Europe. So, yeah, it's totally the other way around than you would initially think it is.
So you're running this campaign for 4 days a week. How do you think the government should handle it? And what, from what you know of Labour's proposals, what do you think they are actually proposing?
So Labour haven't put forward any proposals so far. There's been an independently commissioned inquiry into shorter hours led by Lord Robert Skidelsky. And what they've said is they've looked at history of how we got to the amount of hours that we've got now. And they have pulled out from that the importance of trade unions and sectoral changes to hours in the country. So what they've put forward are legislative changes which bolster the power of trade unions to negotiate once again for the rights of their members in particular workplaces, particular sectors, to drag down the hours in those sectors. And that's what's happened in the past. But what one of the cases that we make as a campaign is that there is a place for top-down legislation to bring the overall hours down in a country in a managed and sustainable way over a period of time.
How do you do that?
So one of the proposals of the New Economics Foundation, for example, is to create a commission which measures productivity levels in the economy, or broadly how well the economy is doing, and to create bank holidays if a particular threshold is met. And over a period of time, this would get towards a shorter working week and eventually towards and beyond the 4-day week. But there are other ways of doing this. For example, creating something like a variable corporation tax, where the more hours you work in a particular company, the more you're taxed, or the more that company is taxed. The less hours that company works, the less you're taxed. So you can create particular incentives within the economy whereby a company or an individual is incentivized to move towards fewer hours.
But it's the idea that, I mean, say you work 40 hours a week over 5 days, and you agree to go down to 32, or the company says, yeah, let's do this 32. I mean, I suspect you're going to tell me that you should still be paid as if you were doing 40.
That's exactly right, yeah. So we make the case for a reduction in hours. Have
you ever run a business?
So what I've done is I've spoken, as part of my job and as part of the campaign, I've spoken to a number of businesses. In the UK, there's over 550 businesses who are already on a 4-day week with no reduction in pay. And I've spoken to a number of those businesses and I've talked about how they made that move towards shorter hours. And they haven't lost productivity. They haven't lost output. In fact, in many cases, productivity has increased. And why that's happened is because they've taken a look at their internal processes, about how they use time within the organisation. And essentially, they've increased efficiency. They looked at where waste has happened. For example, we know that office workers in the UK spend between 40 and 60% of their time either answering emails or in meetings. That there's plenty of space in current work where we can make savings in working time, increase productivity and efficiency on the job, and take those savings in terms of working time reduction.
Which is fine if you're on a salary, but if you get paid hourly, effectively you're putting pay up by 20%. That's quite inflationary, isn't it?
Yes. So it's not an easy solution, and the idea of working time reduction, the 4-day week, should never be seen in isolation of other issues within the economy, not least zero-hour contracts, low pay, insecure work. All of these things are things that should be addressed in tandem with reducing hours in the economy. It's part of a broad, it's a central plank in a broad range of reforms that our economy and our labour market desperately needs.
But I mean, somebody's pointing out here, Aidan in South London, he says, since our working hours went down to 37.5, the UK's productivity has fallen quite dramatically. Can those claiming the opposite is true explain this, please?
So the UK's productivity has flatlined since 2008. One of the reasons for that is the fact that we've lost a lot of labour rights. We've moved a lot of people onto zero-hour contracts and secure work. And the New Economics Foundation, recent research has put out, has said that there's a demand-side explanation to that. People don't have the money to spend in the economy to create confidence in investors to invest in productive machinery, new skills, new training. Actually, on the other side of things, we need to reduce the amount of time that we spend in work because people spend more in leisure time, which means that if you spend more, you create more demand. It incentivizes people, investors, companies to invest in their workforce and invest in new forms of automation, which actually increases productivity. To increase productivity, we need to lower working hours. And I've already talked about the fact that countries with low working hours are already way more productive than we are.